You check the time without meaning to. 2:22. And for a moment before you even registered why, something in your chest tightened slightly, the way it does now whenever those digits appear. You didn't used to notice numbers like this, but lately, 222 has been finding you in places that feel too specific to dismiss. On a receipt you almost threw away, on a car in front of you at a red light, on the corner of a text message thread you keep reopening, even though nothing new has been said in it for days. You haven't told anyone this, but you've started to wonder if it means something, not in a dramatic way. Just quietly, in the part of your mind that stays awake a little too long at night, running the same question in circles. Why does it keep showing up now, during this particular stretch of waiting, when nothing in your life feels decided? Because that's what this season actually is, isn't it? Waiting. Not for a package, not for a result you'll simply learn one day and move on from. You are waiting on a person, on what they think of you, on whether the thing between you two is becoming something, or whether it was always going to stay exactly where it is, comfortable enough to keep you close, undefined enough to keep you unsure. You tell people you're fine with how things are. Sometimes you even believe it for a few hours at a time. But then a message goes unanswered a little longer than usual, and you notice yourself recalculating, reading old conversations for tone, trying to locate the exact sentence where things shifted, if they shifted at all. This is the version of you that shows up at 2 a.m., calm on the outside, doing math on the inside. And it is in that exact state, that particular blend of composure and quiet unraveling, that 222 tends to arrive. Within numerology, 222 is often connected to balance, to patience, to the space between two things that haven't yet resolved into one. It is considered a number of relationships, of trust, of the delicate architecture that holds two people together before either of them has fully committed to building anything permanent. That is its traditional shape. But traditional meanings only become useful once they touch something real. And what is real here is not abstract balance. What is real is you, checking your phone for the 4th time in an hour, telling yourself you're not checking it for him, or her, or them, while some other part of you knows exactly who you're checking it for. Here is what makes this particular kind of waiting so exhausting. It isn't loud. Nobody around you can see it. You go to work, you laugh at the right moments. You seem like someone whose life is fully intact. But underneath that surface, there is a low hum of unresolved tension, the sense that something important is suspended in midair, and only one other person has the ability to bring it down. You didn't choose to give them that power. It happened slowly, in small increments, one unanswered question at a time, until you looked up one day and realized your peace had quietly relocated into someone else's hands. That is the part 222 may be circling back to. Not the person, not whether they will finally choose you. The number does not know their intentions, and no sequence of digits, however consistent, however uncanny in its timing, can predict what another human being will decide to do. Anyone who tells you a number guarantees a text, a return, a certain outcome, is offering you comfort dressed up as certainty, and comfort like that rarely holds. What 222 can offer instead is smaller, and in some ways more useful. It can become a moment where you notice, clearly, without judgment, exactly where your attention has been living. Ask yourself, gently, the next time you catch those digits, what were you thinking about in the second before you looked down and saw them? Was it him? Was it her? Was it the version of a future you've quietly built around someone who hasn't agreed to be in it yet? There is no shame in that. Waiting for someone is one of the oldest human experiences there is. But there is a difference between waiting with your whole self suspended and waiting while still, somehow, remaining rooted in your own life. 222 sits in that difference. It doesn't ask you to stop caring. It doesn't ask you to give up on the possibility of something real forming between you and this person. What it seems to gesture toward, again and again, is balance. the kind that doesn't collapse the moment someone else stays quiet for a day. Balance where your mood isn't decided by whether a message arrives before noon or after midnight. Balance where you can want someone deeply and still recognize the exact moment you've started performing calm instead of actually feeling it. There is a particular kind of exhaustion in loving someone who hasn't decided yet. It isn't the exhaustion of heartbreak, not exactly, because nothing has technically ended. It's slower than that. It's the exhaustion of living inside a question mark, of building sentences in your head that you'll probably never say out loud, of rehearsing how you'd respond if they finally spoke clearly, and how you'd respond if they never did. You carry both outcomes at once, every single day, and very few people around you understand how heavy that actually is, because from the outside, nothing looks like it's happening. But something is happening. It's happening in you. Maybe that is closer to what 222 is pointing toward when it appears in the middle of this particular kind of silence. Not a prediction about them, a mirror turned quietly toward you. What would it mean to stop outsourcing your sense of okayness to someone who hasn't yet decided whether they want to hold it? What would it feel like to still hope for something real to form, while also gently, deliberately, taking your peace back into your own hands in the meantime? This is not the same as giving up on them. People sometimes hear balance and mistake it for detachment, as though caring less is the only way to feel steadier. It isn't. You can care exactly as much as you already do, and still refuse to let every hour of your day bend around whether your phone lights up. The two things are not in conflict. In fact, the version of you who feels most secure in themselves is usually the version other people find easiest to finally choose. Not because you tried harder to be chosen, but because you stopped needing to be in order to feel whole. There's something worth noticing, too, in how the mind works around numbers like this. Humans are pattern-seeking by nature, especially when something emotionally significant is happening beneath the surface. Once 222 becomes tied, even loosely, to this waiting, your attention starts to find it more easily. The way a word you just learned suddenly seems to appear everywhere. That doesn't make the experience hollow or meaningless. It might mean the opposite. It might mean your own mind is trying to hand you a checkpoint, a recurring moment to pause and ask what's actually going on inside you, instead of letting the waiting run on autopilot in the background of your life. So the next time it appears, on a clock, a screen, a passing car, let it do less than you expect it to. Let it not be a message about whether they will finally text back. Let it be a small, quiet pause. A place to ask yourself honestly what you're hoping will happen, and whether you've been living as though your life is on hold until it does. Somewhere inside that pause, there is usually an answer you already know, one you've been circling for a while without quite letting yourself land on it. Balance was never about getting the other person to move faster. It was always about you, deciding not to disappear while you wait. If 222 has been finding you too, in your own version of this waiting, you might notice writing it down somewhere, not for anyone else to read, just for yourself, as a way of marking the moment you actually saw what was happening. And if there's another number that's been quietly following you too, something with its own timing, its own strange consistency, it might be worth paying attention to what that one has been trying to show you as well.